Please be seated. I'm going to go ahead and tell the children to come up here and take their places, please.
Just a couple of notes. Some of you saw the Dunstan pageant in January, and we liked it so much we're going to do it again. We have a song that we sing. The choir sings the verse, and we will sing the refrain. It's a tune.
You know this. It's the Quaker. If everybody's in place, you can't hear me? Okay, I need somebody to ring these bells. Okay, here's she used to be an acolyte probably too. She was, okay. And lastly, and I'll shut up and let the children go, I want to introduce the person who's going to introduce the pageant this morning. We are so pleased and excited to have Ruth Gibbs with us this morning. Ruth, welcome. Ruth is one of our founding members, and I asked somebody how long Ruth was. She was our first parish administrator. I asked how long, and they said forever. When I heard about Ruth before I met her a couple of years ago, I expected somebody to be about 20 feet tall that walked in here because of all the things that I've heard, wonderful things I've heard about Ruth over the years. So she's going to introduce the pageant for this morning. So without further ado, we give you the St. Dunstan players. It all began on Sunday, January. It all began on Sunday, January 6th, 1963, in the cafeteria of Memorial High School. On that feast, for Epiphany, there was a 90 enthusiastic participants in the World War II field captain's communication, and no comfortable trappings began a parish church with love and joy. Our founding priest, Father Richard W. Daniels, declared this church God's child and under God's protection. With God's care, the child would grow. And grow it has for 50 years. Building a home and adapting to change shaped our beginnings and pushed us into the future. Weekday services were held in private living rooms with TV sets and stereo consoles serving as altars. Kneelers were stored in the trunks of cars. The altar guild kept smelling salt on air to revive acolytes and also people in the pews during the summer heat in the unair-conditioned cafeteria. St. Dunstan, the name we took for ourselves, grew into a worshiping family in a climate of openness and creativity. Our first vestry included 2 women, a novelty at that time. From the very beginning, each person was urged to offer his or her abilities for the common good. In 1964, we became an official mission of the diocese. And in January 1965, on land donated by St. John's Parish, we broke ground for this building. In August that year, we happily gave up worshiping in a high school cafeteria and moved into our current home. Over the years, we met many challenges, including a tornado, fire, and lightning strikes. One thing has remained constant throughout the changes and challenges of the 50 years, our long-ago commitment to create a parish family of mutual love and respect, encompassing a wide spectrum of thought and opinion, and engaging in Christian action in the church, our community, the diocese, and the world. And so today, 50 years after our church we gather together to celebrate the light of Christ spreading throughout the world, aided by the work and ministry of hundreds of members of St. Dunstan's family. Oh, and who was Dunstan, we may ask? Well, let's see.
Welcome to Glastonbury, a center of religious learning and scholarship in Somerset, England. It is Candlemas in the year 909. Suddenly all the lights went out but one, held by a pregnant woman. Her candle flamed bright with a holy light. The woman was St. Dunstan's mother. The child was born and was called Dunstan. He was of a noble family. His uncle was Archbishop of Canterbury. He was a studious boy who had a talent for music and art. His family was connected to King Ethelstan, who summoned the boys from his court.
Dunstan, come play me a song. So you're going to play?
Yes.
Dunstan?
Yes.
Dunstan, I command you to play me a song. Where's your lute?
Okay. I invented a new kind of harp. It's called a wind harp, and you just must hear it.
All you need is love. Okay, Dunstan, that's quite enough of that. People are already gossiping about this new instrument of yours. They say the harp plays itself at times. How's that?
The harp is, I heard the harp must be rich and it plays by itself. It's the work of the devil. It's a sign from God.
That's okay, boy. You just keep working and studying. We'll be okay.
What are you doing, Dunstan?
I'm making a bell for the church.
We already have lots of bells. What's new about that?
They always crack and fall apart, and you can't really hear them. But this one is going to be huge, and you'll hear it for miles around. I hear a bell. Listen.
Dunstan invented the process to cast large metal objects and made the world's first church bells. The process is still used by traditional bell makers today. The bell tower of St. Dunstan's own church in Stepney is one of the most famous bell towers in the world. In honor of this achievement, the largest bell in the world was named Great Dunstan and hung for centuries in Canterbury Cathedral. This is why we ring bells for St. Dunstan.
made him roar that he was heard 3 miles or more.
Dunstan continued working, studying, teaching, and crafting beautiful metal objects. King Ethelstan passed away. King Edmund summoned Dunstan back to court.
Dunstan, I need your help.
Yes, Your Highness.
I'm not sure what to do about the Dane law. Some of the issues the nobles have at heart. What should I do?
Well, it's probably best if you...
Oh, look, it's that Dunstan. You know what they say about him? I heard he sings songs from pagan times.
Get rid of him. Oh, gee, Dunstan, never mind. My friends don't like you. Yeah.
Dunstan went to work reforming the English monasteries. He changed the rules so that people couldn't just buy a monastery. He cleaned them up and established the rule of Saint Benedict. He also established the rule that priests must be educated.
Dunstan, come back!
Yes, what is it now?
The most amazing thing.
I've got money in the bag here in front of me. I was kicking on my horse's stomach that huge cavity in the corner. The horse was running straight at us, and we were about to go and did you know what happened? No. What happened? I thought about you. I'm not calling. I thought about how rotten I was today. I'm so sorry for how I treated Dustin, and I promise I'll bring him back and make it up. And do you know what happened? No. When I'm on the edge of my seat, the horse stopped. And it was a miracle. We were about to go to the cliff, but when I made my promise to God, he stopped. Dunstan, I want you to come back. He said, horse standing in my room.
So, Dunstan stayed as chief advisor to King Edmund, and England enjoyed peace and prosperity. Then Edmund died. And Edred became king. He was good. And King Edred died. And Edwin became king. He was bad. And King Edwig died. Kings didn't last very long in that time. Then Edgar became king. The new King Edgar was a boy of 16. He was unprepared to rule alone, and so he asked Dunstan to stay as his chief advisor. That Edgar became known as Edgar the Peaceful, not for his personality, but for the peace that was on the kingdom.
Then, you've been such a reformer in the church.
Dunstan had disapproved of Edgar's wild ways when Edgar was a young man, and so he had refused to crown the boy king. Edgar was king, but he did not have the official sanction of the church.
Edgar, you have behaved yourself reasonably well for the past 15 years. So I've decided to officially crown you king.
So Dunstan created the coronation ceremony, which is still in use today for the English monarchy, and crowned Edgar king on the Feast of Pentecost, 15 years after Edgar took the throne. Then, you guessed it, Edgar died. There was a fight in the kingdom about which son should be king, Edward or his younger half-brother.
Dunstan ended the quarrel by anointing Edward as new king, and Dunstan remained as Archbishop of Canterbury in his senior advice. Then Edward died. He was murdered by Ethelred's mother. Then Ethelred became king.
And Ethelred, we call him Ethelred the Unready, became king. But he wasn't ready. By this time, Dunstan was an old man of 70. Dunstan retired back to Canterbury, where he studied and taught for the next 10 years. He was canonized shortly after his death. His tomb became a popular place of pilgrimage. Dunstan was revered as the patron saint of metalworkers, reformer of the English monastery, and visionary leader who guided the kings of England for the better part of the century. Remembering the legacy of the saint for which it is named, and of a brilliant young priest who called him to the mind nearly 1,000 years later.